Emily Skamla, welcome to the Plant Yourself podcast.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to help you share your story because it's so amazing. So we met at Plantstock in Black Mountain, North Carolina this past summer, and we ran together in the morning, and you smoked me good. And I just assumed that you were like one of these, runner chicks. Like, you've been running since the age of 4 and winning all these races. And that's what I told myself to make myself feel better anyway. And then we chatted and you shared that your story was actually quite different.
Quite
So,
different.
let's just jump in with it.
Okay, well, first, I just want to kind of introduce myself. Like you said, my name is Emily. Currently, I'm a senior in college. I'm 21. I live in part-time Pennsylvania, part-time Florida. Right now, I'm in Florida. It's so amazing and warm. I'm a vegan, I'm an avid runner, and I'm a chronic pain sufferer, which I think is the basis of our conversation and how we connected. I'm very fortunate to be on your podcast, so thank you.
Yeah, so I'm going to Florida tomorrow. I'll be in Sarasota. What should I pack? So
It's actually getting chilly for Florida, so, in the high 70s.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I can travel light.
Yes. Okay, so
Great.
I'll just start. I kind of want to talk about first my disorder and kind of break it down and explain what it is.
Yeah, that's great.
So I have a condition called RSD, or Reflexive Sympathetic Disorder. It can also be referred to as complex regional pain syndrome, which is what it's normally referred to as. But I was diagnosed at a young age, and at that time it was called RSD, so I might refer to it as that. Conditions are usually characterized by severe burning or pain, and they affect usually one of your extremities, such as your arm, your leg, or your hand, or even your feet. So there are pathological changes in the bone and in my skin. So I experience excessive sweating, tissue swelling, and extreme sensitivity to touch, which is called allodynia. I suffer specifically from type 2 RSD, which means that there was a high velocity impact at the site of the injury, and that is associated with my nerve injury. So my key symptoms are intense pain that is way out of proportion to the severity of my initial injury.
Mm.
It affects my wrist, my palm, the top of my hand, all the way up to my shoulder, into my neck, and I'm having problems with my back and kind of my left shoulder in general.
Uh-huh. And so you mentioned that there was initial injury. So this wasn't something you were born with. It's something that happened as a result of a trauma.
Right. So usually RSD is an occurrence of a initial sprain, fracture, or break. So I was 7 years old when I sprained my wrist in a gymnastics tournament. And basically, I just fell halfway through a movement, and it was a minor sprain. However, that initial injury started my long journey with chronic pain.
Hmm. So do we know, was there a genetic predisposition or just like weird something that just happened?
Right. So RSD is very rare, and there's no genetic predisposition for like this specifically.
Mm-hmm.
It is every patient that usually falls under the RSD spectrum has had an initial injury, and then their pain gets worse as they get older.
Uh-huh. So given that it's rare, were people just thinking you were crazy or trying to get attention?
Well, right. It's really hard, especially when you're young, to have an invisible disorder because my doctors didn't understand my severity of pain. My, friends and family were confused. So for about 14 years, I wasn't diagnosed. So it
Huh.
was a myth. Yeah. So it was a long process, which is actually something that RSD patients should not have to go through because it takes about 6 months to 2 years. In that time, if you're not diagnosed, then you will have very limited opportunities to be able to get rid of your pain or to heal. So because I could not find a doctor or a specialist who even had a suggestion that it could be RSD and they didn't put me through the right testing, it took 14 years to discover and be diagnosed, which then led to me having to deal with this insanely painful lifestyle that can't be reversed.
So there is testing. What sort of testing is available? What are they looking for?
Well, you're really looking for excessive sweating, hair growth patterns that are different than your other arm, nail grow length, and then sensitivity to the heat or the cold. So when I'm in a cold environment, my arm will feel frozen, and the other arm will feel cold, but there's a significant difference. So there's sweat tests that you could go through, and then there's simple observational tests. RSD is very hard to diagnose.
Mm-hmm. And I guess especially that it's so rare that people aren't taught to look for it.
Correct. Yes.
So what sort of treatments were you getting for those 14 years when people didn't have a clue?
For a while, I was going back and forth between physical therapists because my, original initial injury was a sprain. So most of the doctors felt that my sprain had not healed properly. I also had 2 significant surgeries that led to increased amount of pain. As an RSD sufferer, you want to avoid any surgery, and I was not aware of that because even touching my arm is painful. So anything that invasive is going to increase your pain 100 times fold. So yeah, I didn't have a good experience with seeing doctors, and the physical therapists didn't help, and they weren't specialized for RSD. So I did not get the right treatment, and it was a lot of going back and forth between seeing doctors, not making any improvements, quitting, and then having too much pain to just sit and do nothing.
Mm-hmm. So what changed the day you got your RSD diagnosis?
A lot changed. I realized that, well, my first surgery happened before I knew, and my second surgery happened after. So I think once I was diagnosed, I think it's important to understand that at the time when I was diagnosed, I was still kind of naive to what the tremendous amount of trial and error that RSD patients have to go through. We have to do a lot of intensive therapy that wasn't in my wheelhouse. I didn't want to do it. I was young, and I kind of felt buried with all of the suggestions that I was getting, and no one was telling me specifically, how do I make this go away when I want it to go away. So for a while, it took me some time to grasp the idea that this pain wasn't going to go away. It was all about, how do I manage it mentally, and how do I continue to make myself strong so that I'm not incredibly weak as the pain spreads throughout my body.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, watching you run and watching you do hills, it seemed like, you were handling, like I was in pain from that workout. Right. So I had no idea that you have this added layer that I, can't even comprehend. What are the standard treatments that weren't working, and what did you find that started to actually help?
I decided to try 2 pain drugs, and the one was Neurontin. And actually, when I first tried it, I lost almost half of all of my hair, and I got extremely sick on both drugs. That was the first path I decided to take, because most RSD patients, when they're diagnosed, are 60 years old. Like, they'll have an initial injury because they're more prone to falling.
Mm-hmm.
So because my initial injury was when I was so young, and my diagnosis was so long after, I didn't have the capacity to understand, and I just wanted a quick fix. So drugs was the first thing that I experienced, and nothing worked. I got very sick. I might have had a little bit of relief from the pain, but it wasn't significant and it didn't outweigh my other side effects. Like I said, I then tried, before I knew I was diagnosed with RSD, I tried a surgery to look for a possible cyst, and there was nothing. And my second surgery was 3 years ago, and I knew I had RSD, but I was exhausted from no relief, and the drugs weren't working, and it was taking a toll on me mentally. I was very depressed. I went through a lot of mental battles up and down because of my pain and not being able to manage it. And because it's an invisible disorder, people don't understand. I can look so healthy and vibrant and be doing, activities and playing sports, but I'm still very sick, and it's hard to mentally adjust to that.
Mm-hmm.
So the second surgery, I just decided I will look for, I will do an exploratory surgery. So my pain specialist recommended that he would go in and he would look for anything that might be causing discomfort, such as inflammation. Unfortunately, there was nothing, there's nothing wrong with my hand. So I went back to that. Okay, I have RSD. There's nothing wrong with your hand. Your initial injury has healed. Your brain, you're no longer sending signals that your injury has healed. So I'm constantly firing pain signals, constantly firing pain signals without relief, and there won't be relief. So I have tried those. I was told that, right where I am now, my next step, if I wanted to pursue pain relief, would be a spinal implant. And I've decided against that because of how active I've become. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of side effects, and that's not something that I want to have to deal with. So right now, there's nothing unless I would want to go back to medication. So It's learning about managing the pain. It's learning about how do I make everything else in my body healthy and strong so that the pain, I can outweigh it, and it just becomes a part of everything else. Like when I work out and I push myself and I become so sore, I've trained my brain to acknowledge my arm and shoulder pain as part of this soreness, and that it's making me stronger. So that's, it's all in the mindset. There's nothing else I can do other than take drastic measures to have any pain relief.
Gotcha. So how does your diet play into this?
My diet, and it took me a while. My veganism journey was not, all of a sudden I was whole food plant-based. I was, a vegan junk food for a while during the time that I suffered with some anxiety and depression over everything that was going on. But once I transitioned and my health became pristine and I was able to feel healthy from the inside out, I didn't focus as much on just feeling so sick and tired all the time, because my pain, when it's constantly firing and all you feel is pain all the time, and you're eating bad, even if you're eating vegan junk food, you can't feel good. It was impossible to ever feel good. So changing my diet allowed me to feel amazing, change so many things, so many aspects of my life. And that, in return, I was able to handle my pain.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like it's not like the linear relationship. Like I want the story to be you went vegan and your pain went away. Right? That's not how it happened.
No. I mean, I would love to sit here and say that I went vegan and my pain went away, but I think more importantly, because I still have pain and a lot of people might experience something like this, it doesn't matter anymore that I feel pain. It's all about how I changed my mindset, how I changed my body. I was very sick. I was a very sick person, and I couldn't even get up. I couldn't shower. And being a vegan, especially a whole food plant-based vegan, which I cannot talk about enough, that's so important. I've found success in athleticism, being mentally stable and feeling happy for the first time in a long time.
So knowing that it's your brain is basically lying to you, right?
Correct.
Right. There's no pain, but your brain, like, does that help in some way to, I'm almost like, obviously I can't imagine what your experiences are, but I'm trying to extrapolate to, like, listening to a radio station that's spouting hate and lies, and I get to choose, like, oh yeah, it's saying all those things, but I don't have to believe it. Is there a way that you sort of distance yourself or disregard or minimize those pain signals, even, because they're real and they're also lies? You know what I'm asking?
I do. It took me a long time because I wanted to basically my hand. I wanted to not write. I wanted to not have to raise it above my head. For a long time I couldn't cut my own food, and I just thought that this was the way, it hurts so bad, I'm going to baby it because that's what I need to do. But on the contrary, when I learned about RSD and kind of the science behind it, I started to understand that there's no physical ailment. I have pain, but it's okay to use my arm. I actually just took up boxing, and it is the most, excruciating pain I've ever felt, but there's nothing wrong with me. So I kind of have to think about it. It's all a mental battle. I have to think about it as if it's soreness or, just power through. So it's definitely not easy. And, I'm still learning how to deal with it. There are days where the pain, encompasses me, and I have off days, but it's far to none compared to where I was.
And what I'm hearing, and I teach this to people, there's so many people who, are fine and fear pain. And they fear, like, going for a run because of how it's going to make them feel, the soreness, the burning in the lungs, maybe the pain of footfalls. Like, people are terrified of discomfort, and hearing you talk about, like, it already hurts, so why not, like, get something useful out of the hurt?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up about being uncomfortable, because everything I've done to get to where I am now was extremely uncomfortable. And I do feel like our society, no one wants to be uncomfortable. And that plays a role in veganism, and it plays a role in, like you said, athleticism. No one wants to feel uncomfortable. Everyone has ulterior motives, and they'll do whatever they can so that they're comfortable. So the fact that I haven't been comfortable in so long, and my mindset has developed into, okay, what else can I do to make myself uncomfortable? Because it will balance everything else out. And I know that might not be how other people think, but if you want to be a vegan, if you want to transition to a plant-based diet, it is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable on every level, socially, physically. You might see changes, you might, get a lot of backlash, but in order for us to progress, personally or not, you need to feel uncomfortable. And I've embodied that, and that's how I deal, and I dealt with everything that was thrown at me. So yes, it's hard, but like you said, people don't want that. They just want to feel comfortable, and they want it now, and they want what they want. And you just have to push yourself. And if you're able to, if your body allows yourself to do things like go for a run, why would you not want to? And if your body allows yourself to eat plant foods and become the healthiest individual and feel great in your body in every way, why would you not want to, even though it's uncomfortable at first?
Yeah, I mean, what I hear you saying is, like, you're going to be uncomfortable, and you can either waste it or you can spend it on benefits.
Yes. I mean, I know now I'm kind of addressing veganism, but people, if you take these steps, you can learn about the common misconceptions. Like what I was aware of was, I would feel weak. I would have an iron deficiency. I would lose my hair. I'd have thyroid problems. But that's not caused by eliminating animal products. It's by, under eating, consuming processed foods, having a damaged digestive system. So because I changed my diet, I felt like I was cheating at life, even though I had, external things that didn't have to do with my diet causing me pain. But I'm able to have limitless energy and smooth digestion, and I radiate happiness. And I know I'm making the right changes for myself, in the environment. So everything else becomes mundane to me.
Mm-hmm. So I'm real curious. You mentioned that you'd had sort of depression and anxiety issues, and there were, days you couldn't raise your arm or cut your own food or take a shower. And now, looking at you, you're, you're amazing in the things that you're exploring that most people wouldn't do. How has that impacted the people around you who've known you through this whole process?
Well, I think people are first confused because it's only been 1 year that I've been officially whole food plant-based. I've been vegan for 3 years, but people thought my vegan. First of all, my friends and family do not understand the capacity of RSD, and I understand completely that it's something that is blind to them and myself. But when I became vegan, I became myself more than ever because I was able to, like I said, handle these external factors. So I think my family was happy, and now I'm this whole food plant-based vegan, and I think they're very happy for me. But yes, I was depressed for a while, and I think it's important to talk about because I think a lot of people are, and I felt suffocated. When you're depressed and you have anxiety, at the height of it, it spread through my entire life and into every cell in my body, and you're a slave to it. And I thought that I had to be perfect, and perfectionism doesn't exist. So I'm putting on this happy face, but I'm struggling, and I felt so alone. Yeah. And I didn't know there was so much going on that I couldn't handle.
Mm-hmm. I'm really curious where the perfectionism came from, because looking in from the outside to see your disability and to see you have really good excuses to fail at stuff, right? If anyone has a good excuse to not excel, like, oh, I couldn't do my homework, I couldn't lift my pen, I didn't study, or whatever, I would have milked those excuses for all they were worth. Where did perfectionism creep in the midst of all that?
I think because I let my pain take over me for so long, and I was a slave to my pain. Whenever I went to college, I wanted to be healthy and I wanted to thrive like everyone else I was looking at. Mm. I didn't feel like I could baby myself or my pain anymore. I wanted to, be healthy, and I wanted to express myself and be able to act, normal in social situations and not have this, depression inside of me or this anxiety over, they don't understand how I feel. And I kind of needed to understand that they wouldn't. So perfectionism came from, it was me putting it on myself and wanting to better myself for, first of all, for other people. But I didn't feel like I was doing myself justice.
Mm-hmm. So the perfectionism, it sounds like it was about making yourself better for others rather than making yourself better for yourself.
Yeah. And, obviously that has changed and developed into wanting to do things and being mentally healthy for myself. But I know a lot of college students feel this way. I know my friends felt this way, and I was unaware of it. Everything becomes heightened, and my stress levels naturally went through the roof. So of course, everything else would, fall into place with that.
So when you felt increased anxiety and stress, did that exacerbate the pain?
It does. And, it's proven that that will increase any pain. So my pain went through the roof, and I was dealing with having to excel in my academics, which is, hard as someone who can barely write. So everything seemed as though it was falling apart. And I think that's where my depression kind of came in, because I felt as though if I didn't take control, my life was going to unravel into, complete unhappiness because of these external situations, and I couldn't handle them. So I had to just kind of think to myself, I want to fully live my life. I don't want to live how I'm living. And it took a long time for me to develop that into something that was tangible.
Yeah, I'm sort of playing with this irony on like two levels. One is that like what you wanted to do in college, what anyone wants to do is sort of fit into a social group and be normal. And so, I'm just trying to imagine like having to have this, just have to decide, do I have this conversation with this person? Do I have it now? Do I get to know them better? Do I need to have it at all? What about dating? What about all those, the issues of just physical touch and affection? And
right.
And wanting to be perfect to keep those conversations at bay so they wouldn't need to happen actually made it worse.
Of course. Yeah. And actually my first semester as a freshman, like you said, I was trying to figure out how to fit in. So the first thing I did was sign up to try out to be a novice rower for an NCAA team. And this is from, never working out, not having a clue how to row, and having all this pain that I decided I would hide. So it was definitely something that ended up not working out. But I did row for a year, and it allowed me to kind of assess, okay, this is how I want my college to go. I want people to see me in this light, and that way I can hide everything else that's going on. So I definitely used it as a cover up, although it was the beginning of my really hard college experience with depression and anxiety and the pain.
Yeah. And the other level of irony I'm finding is, so what you're describing in terms of sort of alienation from the peer group you wanted to be a part of is kind of how most people think about and fear going whole food plant-based. Like they think like, if I do this thing, then I'm going to be uncomfortable in social situations. I'm going to be ostracized, or I'm not going to be able to eat with anyone anymore. I'm going to have to, right. And for you, like that had been your life before you went whole food plant-based.
It was. And, I did isolate myself on purpose, but I also naturally isolated myself because when I started to express my pain and take control, when I started to slowly become a vegan, or when I started to run, to the people that I was associated with, that was uncomfortable for them. So whenever you're the person making changes, especially the significant, people around you, they are going to feel uncomfortable. So it wasn't, I didn't put those feelings or pressures on myself because I knew that I had to do what I needed to do, and people are going to feel that way. And, to this date, those same people don't understand what I'm about, what this whole lifestyle is. But it's about you. It's a personal choice that affects more than you could even think about, affects your world. So you need to just think about yourself. It's definitely hard. I struggled with it for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's listening to your story. I'm going to come back to this idea of like people who start running or exercising and feel like we try to teach people the difference between like pain or discomfort and damage. And it's like by that definition, like it sounds like the things you do to yourself that cause you pain aren't necessarily causing any damage, right? That your body is working normally on the physical level. There's just sort of this signal that's going off, and it's like, it's like you have like the world's most advanced degree in discomfort.
Yeah, I do, and I don't think there's a way to explain to someone how I'm not overdoing it or damaging myself, because when I talk about it, it might sound like I'm pushing a disorder or a pain that shouldn't be pushed, but that's the kink with RSD. You need to be able to work through it, and you need to be able to live your life. So when people think that, that's me hurting myself even more, I have to try and remember that I know how I'm feeling and I know what I'm doing. Actually, after my last marathon that I ran, I hurt my foot and I was in a boot for 8 weeks because of severe tendonitis. And when it healed and the MRIs were all beautiful, I still had a little bit of residual pain. And I had to remind myself that you need to learn how to distinguish between RSD pain and there's something wrong pain. Because with this condition, it's most likely going to spread to other areas. And remember, they're after initial injuries. So it's those kind of things that, I have to learn how to distinguish from. But then once I realize there's nothing wrong, it's okay, you're not hurting yourself, then I think, and I push myself, in other ways. So like when I run, like I've been running some strong 6-minute miles, I am in so much pain and I'm sore and everything hurts while you're doing it. Running is one of the most painful things I do because my shoulder and my arm, the repetitive motion is very painful, but I'm not hurting myself. And this is me compensating for the years and years of feeling not strong and not healthy and not able to do what I want to do.
So I pulled up a website based on a Google search. It's the rsds.org. So supporting the CRPS RSD community. And I'm wondering, I haven't spent any time on it, but I'm wondering, if you communicate with other people with this condition, and do they understand your approach to running, hurting yourself, going plant-based, or are you an outlier in that community too?
Honestly, I haven't reached out to communities online, but for a while I was a part of a pain specialist institution called the Pittsburgh Pain Institution, and it was for children. And this is where a lot of toddlers to middle schoolers were being diagnosed with RSD at such an early age that then they were treated for their pain, and they had a bright future ahead because it's easily treated when it's first diagnosed. So I became involved with these people, and obviously they were young and I couldn't fully communicate, but it was very helpful for them to see me and to see how much at that time I was struggling. And I think I motivated them to, do your at-home exercises and, listen to your doctor and, their kids. But I just needed to be aware. I haven't taken it that next step and, found communities, but, it's important for other people to know that it's out there. And I think it's important for these communities to become larger and larger. So doctors and specialists can also be reminded of the condition and to look for it in their patients. Because like I said, I went through many specialists and they didn't know how to look for this kind of disorder or know about it in any way.
Gotcha. So you see, you're a senior in college right
I
now?
am.
So I hated this question when I was a senior in college, but I'm not asking you because of that, but I'm asking you because of your life experience so far. Do you have plans like to, like to do anything, like what do you want to do with your life given what you know and what you've experienced?
Well, for a while now, I wanted to be a professional commercial pilot. And during the beginning of when that dream kind of became reality and I was getting my FFA medical certification, I wasn't allowed because I was taking, drugs for anxiety and drugs for, at the time, my wrist. And it took me a long time to, wean off of all of that and to become healthy and strong. So that's something I'm very excited for. I'm graduating with a degree in public health, which I think is amazing and very applicable to what I'm interested in. But I hope to turn that around and go to school to be a pilot.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you don't have to do you have to join the Air Force to do that?
No, I'm going to go to like a community school that have their own aviation program. It'll take about 9 months to get my ratings and then like a year and a half to get my hours. And then I'll be set to interview for regional airlines. So.
Gotcha. So as you go out into the world and meet people, we spoke about your RSD, partly because I'm a nosy podcaster and I just want to know everything about everybody. But I'm wondering, like, how public are you, if you were to, I don't know, wherever you'd go to talk about it or simply, just live your life your way?
So am I like willing to talk about my disorder? Is that what you're...
Well, I know you're willing to because you're doing it here.
Yeah.
But in terms of like what is the like do like if you're in a study group and you're just meeting a group of people in a new class, do you talk about it? Do you mention it? How like I have a Nike swoosh on my shirt. Do you have like an RSD swoosh that people can?
No, where I'm coming from, I can't speak for other RSD sufferers, but I just want to be a part of everyone else. And I don't want to have a label. If it comes up and I'm asked about it, or, if I say, oh, my wrist really hurts, I need to take a break, I'm very open to discussing it. Mm-hmm. But, I feel great and I don't want other people to think of me in that way. And I know it's completely fine, and chronic pain is something we should all talk about, and it's not anything to be, ashamed of, but I don't think it's necessary. And, mm-hmm. I'm perfectly happy keeping it on the down low.
Gotcha. So I guess my last question, I haven't, it might be a jerky question, in which case you can just say so. But I'm wondering, it's given this horrible condition has given you such insight and clarity and wisdom. I'm wondering, like, are you ever like a little bit grateful for it, or wonder who or what you'd be if things had gone in a different direction?
Yes, I'm definitely grateful. I'm not, obviously I don't wish this upon anyone, but it made me take necessary steps to heal the rest of my body. I don't think I'd be running or boxing or teaching spin classes. I don't know if I would be a vegan. Hopefully I would have found it and, transitioned, but I'm thankful that I have a story that I think other people can relate to, even if they don't have such a chronic pain or pain at this level. Everyone's dealing with something, and it's just how our society is. We're riddled with mental health issues and physical issues, and even simple things like digestion. Like, everyone I talk to has a problem with digestion. And I think because I have so much knowledge about veganism, and now I can talk about athleticism, it's changed the trajectory of how my journey is. So I am grateful for my journey as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, because I can feel, that this conversation is I'm going to carry it with me on my next run where I feel like quitting.
Yeah.
I'm just finishing Scott and Jenny Jurek's book North about their record-breaking Appalachian Trail thing, and just near the end, there's this guy who comes to basically toughen him up to this, like he's been broken down by 40 days on the trail, and this guy that he's talking about had not only been awake for 127 hours without sleep, so he understood sleep deprivation. He'd also cut off his own arm without anesthesia to escape from a boulder. And like Scott was saying, this is the guy who could speak with authority about the things that I needed to hear. And I feel like you have that in really important ways, that you're carrying something in a very sort of intense, expanded way that you've gone to the darkest hole and back and brought this gift for the rest of us.
I mean, I hope that's how other people can look at it. I'm really grateful that, that's how it comes off, because it was not an easy experience, but, it was well worth it.
Wow. Wow. Any final words or thoughts or anything you wanted to share with us that we didn't get to yet?
I don't think so. During this time, I do have under construction a site where I have more about veganism, more about RSD, and a lot about my athleticism, because that's something that I'm developing. And I have a lot of goals for that. So if, your followers want and the listeners want to email me about anything, any questions, any advice, any stories, I would be grateful to read them. My email is my last name Skamla, Skamla, @gmail.
Okay.
And you can find me at Instagram on my last name again, and that's EMM Skamla. And I'll be producing my kind of influencer site that's going to be out soon, so I can interact with people, and especially people my age. I welcome anyone who's struggling with anything. I have a long list, and I have a lot of wisdom I can impose. So anyone and everyone is welcome. I would love to talk to some people and help other people on this journey as well, because it's never too late. We can all make that switch. It's not the end for anyone.
Wow. So I'll also post those in the show notes, erskamla@gmail.com and EMM Skamla on Instagram. So you can get them here or get them at the show notes. I don't know what show this will be yet, but if you just search for SKAMLA in the top box on the right, on the search box, they will find you.
Thank you. And I just want to say one more thing, that I guess the takeaway that I would want people to know the most is that I found how to live, and living is such a magical thing, and most people just exist. So whatever it is, find what makes you feel you're living.
Beautiful. And which for no reason reminds me that we're also videotaping this. So assuming that the file works out, it will be up on YouTube, so people can also get the benefit of your radiant smile, as well as the hopeful and beautiful timbre of your voice.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Emily Skamla, thank you so much for sharing this journey and for all the light and hope and love you bring into the world. I'm honored to spend this time with you.
I am too. Thank you.